It must be incredibly annoying for the leading thinkers of our generation to come out of the comfort of their study or lab into the world, sit down for a podcast interview, and then see their words formed into somebody's tweet or LinkedIn post conveying the idea exactly opposite to what they were saying in the interview. The recent victim of this transfiguration was Judea Pearl, a Turing Award laureate, UCLA professor, and the founding father of the branch of artificial intelligence focused on cause and effect world models. In Sam Harris's podcast, Judea Pearl simply said that the current architecture of the large language models, or LLMs, based on the transformer algorithm has mathematical limitations that do not allow the LLMs to internalize causal world models. Now, because humans, the only species exhibiting general intelligence at present, seems to rely on causal world models quite heavily for knowledge generalization, the working assumption is that the artificial general intelligence, or AGI, will have to rely on causal world models too. The observations that LLMs do not internalize causal world models efficiently leads Pearl to a conclusion that simple scaling of LLMs will not produce AGI. Yet, somehow the general public translates this reasoning into the conclusion that LLMs are a dead end. Harris actually asks Pearl whether LLMs are a dead end, and Pearl's answers no. They are a step towards it, but nobody seems to be paying attention by that point. Let's think about this for a second. It is simply not true that all OpenAI and its leading competitors do with the billions of dollars they spend on their models is merely scaling their existing algorithms. The companies behind the frontier models may be greedy, duplicitous, or outright evil, but they are anything but stupid. There is no engineer on earth that built something successfully and then decided to build the same thing bigger without trying to make 1,000 tiny improvements in the new version, improvements that accumulate over time into transformative breakthroughs. Creative people are physically incapable of the kind of dumb scaling that the general public seems to attribute to OpenAI and its peers. We have to agree that this idea of, quote, simple scaling is not something that happens in reality. We know that the starting point for OpenAI's GPT-1 was the transformer algorithm invented by Google in 2017, but nobody honestly believes that today's GPT 5.3 is the same thing but bigger. It is a completely different beast, I'm sure, not only in its size, but in its underlying mathematics too. So now that we have established that the improvement in the modern LLMs is not only in scale, but inevitably in their fundamentals, does one think that the evolving AI should implement the beautiful Pearlian mathematics of causal reasoning in order to become AGI? For all my long-standing personal admiration of the genius of Judea Pearl and his causal mathematics, I am not so sure, and here is why. We only need to look at the history of the evolution of the AI natural language processing. Decades of research, hundreds of dissertations, and thousands of scientific papers dissecting the syntax and grammar and semantics of human languages, creating logically robust mathematical proofs, erected an ideal upper limit of what a natural language processing machine should be able to achieve at its peak. The relative simplicity of the transformer algorithm and the overwhelming acceptance by this civilization of the slop that it produces, so far away from the shining ideal of the formal natural language research, should be a sobering example, a bitter lesson as it is. Pearlian mathematics of causality defines a similar shining ideal of what is ultimately possible for a thinking machine to achieve in rational reasoning under overwhelming uncertainty. But the elegance of the mathematical theory almost never translates into the simplicity in real-world product engineering, and there is no reason to believe that this time it will be different. My bet on what is going to happen: just like Google's transformer algorithm in 2017, some mathematician will stumble upon a relatively simple algorithm that will make LLMs produce causal reasoning slop that finally sounds better than the average 5-year-old's, and the highly incentivized corporate executives will proclaim that this is AGI.